Today, I have a truly dynamic guest who's not only navigated the turbulent waters of real estate, but has consistently found ways to innovate and dominate. Of course, that's Steve Trang. Many of you will know him as the founder and voice behind the incredibly popular Real Estate Disruptors podcast, which has now evolved into Disruptors. And I want to talk about that a bit in this episode, broadening your scope to impressive figures across the business world. Steve's journey started in a very different field from mechanical engineering at Intel. He made the bold leap in
Electrical.
electrical. Okay. Made the bold leap into real estate in 2007. Perfect time to get into real estate, I'm sure.
Why not?
Not only did you survive that challenging period, but you also went on to build Stunning Homes Realty, a brokerage that captured nearly 1% market share in the competitive
Hmm.
Phoenix area with over 100 agents.
Hmm.
And you were doing at one point, I know you well enough to see you're probably not doing that now, but selling 100 homes a year. Is that
Hmm.
true? Wow, that's
Yeah, as
crazy.
a realtor.
I didn't realize that. That's insane.
We did it for 4 years in a row. I think one year we were like at 96. Like, oh, hey, can we get just someone to close in December?
You just guru math that up, and we did
Yeah.
about 100. Beyond your brokerage success and influential podcast, Steve is a renowned sales trainer, developing systems like your 8-step sales masterclass and specialized programs like the Brewer method. I didn't realize
Hmm.
you and Eric did that together. That was really interesting that I found it this
Hmm.
morning.
Yeah.
As well as the installment method for compliant wholesaling, very dear to my
Hmm.
heart, all designed to help real estate professionals, especially wholesalers, close more deals and scale their operations. You've even developed tech like Offer Fast Homes, which I didn't hear about. I don't know why we've never
Hmm.
discussed that before. I'm excited. Helping wholesalers streamline their process. Your mission to create 100 millionaires speaks volume about your commitment to the industry. And now you're exploring the cutting edge of AI in sales and wholesaling, from engineering, electrical engineering, to real estate mogul, podcast host, sales guru, and now a multifaceted business innovator who has even co founded a bank. Steve Trang
Hmm.
embodies the spirit of a disruptor.
The only thing I would say is we're not exploring it. We're doing it on the AI side. Like
Yeah.
we have a bunch of paying clients. So
Let's dive right in. So, again, at Boardroom, I guess you presented your software. But Cody there, a guy on
hmm
my team, my COO, basically the guy who runs Lead Zillow, he was blown away by the concept of like this chat bot for practicing sales. Do I have that
role
right?
play
Is that,
bots. Yeah.
yeah? How does that work?
Yeah, they're up
Like,
and running. It's just that simple. Yeah. I mean, we programmed role play bots that sound realistic, that are psychologically hard to tell the difference between a real bot and a real person. There's some latency, there's some delays, right? Especially in the beginning, because AI always takes like the first response always takes way too long, but then after that, it kind of gets into a flow. This is something we created because Brad Chandler, who's crushing it in the DMV area, he's like, hey, we want this, and so we made it. And the best feedback you can get was when he tried out the bot. His response to me was like, I can't tell if you were pranking me or not.
really?
Like the guy that's bought thousands of houses, literally thousands of houses, he's like, I couldn't tell if you were pranking me or not. That is a testament to how good our bot is.
Absolutely. So that's even funny because I thought it was all text based. So I didn't even realize that like it's you can talk to your phone and train these things. So
Yeah, you can call
what's
it. Yeah.
first thing that pops to my mind is like if I have a new sales rep on, I could put him in what a few days of role play. I can then see
Mhm.
how he scores in the role play. I assume there's a scoring
Yes.
component.
Yep. On your team, the moment the role play is done, he gets an email, tells him how he did, and then you, as the owner, you just log into the portal and you can see how he did on the role play. You can see scores of how he's doing over time on the role
Huh.
play.
So,
Yeah.
what are some of like the different areas that I would notice of a sales rep? Like this sales rep might be weak in handling specific objections, or is there like different areas where you like
So we
think that?
have 10 metrics that we track, and I'm not going to remember all 10 off the top of my head. I'll give you what I can remember. And this is all scale from 1 to 10. So you combine it for 100 points, right? How good are you at setting expectations? How good are you at being empathetic and curious? How good are you being assertive versus aggressive? How good are you at getting emotional buy-in? How good are you at doing storytelling versus answering questions? How good are you at preventing remorse and setting clear next steps? How good are you at isolating the actual objection? How good are you at objection handling overall? How well do you demonstrate non-neediness? Because for us, like if you're pushy, right, you're gonna lose it. So do you demonstrate like, hey, sell your house to house, don't sell your house? Either way is okay. So we measure all those. Plus, there's one more. I can't remember what the 10th one is.
This kind of also go around like what your sales masterclass teaches, like establish rules, extract truth, extract pain, extract rights, extract decision
All
making,
of that.
all
Hmm.
that kind of stuff. So it's all a rolled into one. So that's really interesting. What So basically, what industry can it be in? Can it be, is it industry agnostic, or are you like, is this training just in wholesaling right now?
It's industry agnostic. Now, I can say our first three bots are real estate heavy,
Right.
right? Because that's the world we know. But we're going to create, I mean, Ian's committed to doing 50 bots this month, which I think is crazy. I don't think we're going to do that. We're going to have bots every industry. Ultimately, sales is sales. It doesn't matter what you're selling. Was it their idea? Were you curious about their position? Did you set clear expectations before we started? Did you set clear next steps afterwards and prevent remorse? Were you assertive versus aggressive? Like, that doesn't matter what you're selling.
Right.
That's what people want in a conversation.
Where is this in 20 years? Am I going to walk onto a car dealership and like have a conversation with a literal bot stand, and it's going to like convince me what car to buy?
I
Like,
mean,
where do
in
you
20
see AI
years,
evolving?
I mean, we're probably like 3 years. I would say we're probably about a year from replacing inside sales. And I would say 3 to 5 years for replacing outside sales in 20 years. First of all, I don't know if we're still going to be on this planet in 5 years. I think AI is
That's
going to
fair.
it's going to
That's
decide we're
fair.
unnecessary. I think maybe if we're talking 15, 20 years, we're probably well past singularity, right? Like
Yeah.
we've all got computers in our heads. And so at that point, I don't think we don't need to be sold.
Why do you say inside first before outside sales? Like you think that AI and sales and all of this is going to become so dominant that outside sales are going to become so advanced that it's just not even worth creating an internal sales team, that you'd rather do
No,
like
no,
third.
not at all. I say inside sales because the parameters are the same, right? Selling something, you're
Mm.
selling an appointment, right? Inside sales, hey, Drew, fill out a form. He was on YouTube with the lead Zolo, right? I fill out a
Mm.
form. I reach out, I talk to him. Going from Drew filling out a lead form to me getting him to agree to meet with him in person or on the phone is not, the parameters of that sale are not crazy,
Right.
right? Like the objections is like, let me see when's a good time for my husband and myself. Why can't we just do this over the phone? Or like, why won't you come over to my house? Like, there's like a handful of objections. The
Yeah.
parameters aren't so complicated. So as long as it feels real, you're good. Outside sales, the parameters are all over the place. All right, well, Drew's on board, but what about his business partner? What
Mm.
about his COO? Right? Like he wants to sign up for our program. So I get all these people on board. Now I got to get into storytelling. Hey, Drew, I appreciate that you have to go run it by your board. Makes total sense. I was actually talking to this other company and they had the same exact process. After we spoke with them, they didn't take a week to have their meeting. It was only, after our meeting, they had a conversation that quickly that afternoon. And right afterwards, they were able to call me and gave me the green light. But I don't know if you'd be able to have a conversation right after we finish up right here. That is something completely different, right? The
Right.
parameters of where this conversation can go are much broader. And so we're going to need a lot more coaching to the AI bot to be able to replace that.
Interesting. So through the lens of like a wholesaling company, you're talking like the lead nurturer, the lead manager is kind of the first person that would
Yes,
be replaced into like
unfortunately.
the
The
acumen.
reality
Well,
is people are losing jobs. That's the reality of AI.
people are losing like lower leverage jobs, right? Like I think
Hmm.
Elon has, I can't remember exactly what the quote is, but it's like it's lower leverage jobs are going to go, and it's going to allow those people to go be higher contributors. Maybe not in the same job or the same company. It was through the lens of the new bots that he's making. So it's like if you
Hmm.
don't have to like do laundry and clean your house and clean your pool and do your dishes and cook your food, right? How many hours a day did that save of you? And what can you be doing with those hours? Some people are going to
Hmm.
choose to spend more time with family. Some people are going to choose to go develop their companies more with the extra hours that they win. And I think it's probably the
Yeah.
same for like programmers and things like that too. I think far too many people are a little doomed and gloom that AI is going to take over, where it just means
Hmm.
that we have to ascend to more knowledge based working and less kind of like, you know, what time is a good time for you on Tuesday for me to show up at your house?
Exactly. I hope he's right.
Yeah. Where what's your opinion on that?
We made it this far, right? I mean, we replaced the horse and buggy. We replaced the sewing machine. Like we created sewing machines. Like there was that whole evolution. Like when sewing machines came around, like it was like you can't have sewing machines. We're gonna put all these people out of work, right? So like we've gone through this. So like we've survived so far. So hopefully we survive this one too. It's just for me, it's just moving so freaking fast. There's a lot of unpredictability to it.
What are you optimistic about with the whole AI revolution?
I mean, for me, it's going to level up sales. I was on a podcast with Carlos Reyes a few years ago, and I remember Alex Sines asked me specifically, "What do you want to be remembered for?" And my answer to him was, "I want to be known as the guy that changed the way sales was done." And I believe that's happening because with our bots, with our tool, and everything else, if you don't evolve and get on board with our process and our tools and our systems, good luck. You're going to be using antiquated sales philosophies. You're going to not use AI to get better at sales. You're not going to be holding your team accountable to following a consistent sales process. You're not going to use sunlight to disinfect all the bad habits inside your sales organization. Good luck. So
Right.
that's what I'm excited about. I think everyone that we work with, if they don't 3 to 5x their business in the next few months using our systems, I'll be blown away. The
Right.
inefficiencies, the time wasted on managing sales team. We're going to eliminate 90% of the things that we hate of managing a sales team with our AI tools. Anyone that's not using that is choosing to have suffer brain damage on purpose and choosing to have an ineffective and inefficient sales team.
I totally agree with that. Like my biggest soapbox right now from the marketing side of the world is, a quote that I came up with. I believe you called me out that Dan Kennedy took it from me. The business that can spend the most to acquire customer wins, right? I just
Yes.
think that's so true. And what does that mean, right? Because it's really easy to say as a marketer, just spend more money. But what it means is your business needs to be the most efficient business in your area or in your industry. I had somebody the other day who was just like, how is it even possible that the cost per click for Sell My House for Cash in San Diego is $217 a click right now on Google? They're like, how is it even possible Google can justify that? And it's like, well, Google's not justifying shit, right? Like
Hmm.
Google is an auction. Google started
Hmm.
the minimum bid in Google is 1 penny. Like go bid the one
Hmm.
penny if you want. They don't care. But there's so many other people, especially in San Diego, who've gotten so good at their business and then refine their process, that their landing page probably converts at 50%. They probably get 80% of the leads that fill out that page onto a call because their follow-up process is probably so dialed in. Their acquisitions
Hmm.
manager is probably a freaking machine that walks to the person's front door as soon as he gets a hold of them. And so they probably have this huge close rate. And then they probably have the best flipping company in the world with all of its operations dialed in, and they make the most profit off every single flip. So that's how they can afford to spend over $200 per click. It's unfair when you're sitting there with a legal pad and a pen and your cell phone thinking that you want to pay $2 a click to some crappy ClickFunnels landing page and you don't even know what to do when the lead comes in because you were out for dinner and you'll get to it tomorrow. To me, like that's what just like blows my mind. And I think more people need to look at
Hmm.
it. And AI can be just such a huge solution for that.
Again, just the same two words, effective and efficient. We're good
Yeah.
at what we do, and we don't waste time doing it.
What do you think it does for consumers?
If everyone can follow a process that we believe to be, the right way to do it, consumers can have a more pleasant experience. Because like if you look at Hollywood, right, and you look at people that have bad sales experiences, you think of the car dealership, you think about this getting ripped off for so on, right? That happens because they're experiencing bad sales processes. So for me, the consumer, they can have a better experience. Like I said, when I mentioned years ago on Carlos' podcast, I don't know if you remember as a guy that changed sales, because I want sales to be done ethically. I want to be done where you and I agree on the same outcome. I don't want to push you. I don't want to manipulate you. I want you to work with me because it makes sense for you and it makes sense for me. So we're going to improve the consumer experience. We're not going to force anyone to do anything they don't want to do. Again, that non-neediness, assertive versus aggressive, empathetic and curious. I think we can all agree that's who we would want serving us
Yeah.
versus the pushy used car guy with, the shirt that's unbuttoned down to here.
That's so funny. I'll just say it. I joke about your archetype a lot in terms of sales and like how you're so effective because you're just like, you're literally the person I want to speak to. And so,
Right.
that makes everything easy. So it's like, if I need to go sell my house and you and Andy Elliott are standing beside each other, like, it's like, do I want to get punched in the throat and told why I need to take less for my house? Or do I want this
Hmm.
person who's going to empathetically explain to me logically in some situations why this is better off for me to do? Like
Yeah.
very easy for me as a consumer to make that decision.
So yeah, I think if we can get everyone to be trained on that same philosophy, I think consumer has a much better experience.
What do you think most agents and investors right now are dramatically overlooking in terms of leverage in their business with AI? Like, obviously, your software is great, and we can talk more about that. But
Mhm.
like, is there anything like super simple, like what they're currently doing on a day to day that by this afternoon they could be doing different to increase their effectiveness and efficiency?
3 months ago, I wasn't even looking at AI. I was like, I'll let someone else figure that out. Like someone else is gonna figure it out. I was paying them a lot of money. I only went down this journey because I had three different people like, Steve, we need you to build this for us. Like, all right, if you need me to build it for you, then I will do it. But it took 30 people to ask that. So I think everyone else is probably like who I was 3 months ago, which is like, yeah, I'll do it when I do it. The evolution in the last 3 months in AI has been so outrageous that anyone not paying attention to it is, facing not quite an existential threat, but it's going to be a problem. And so I think for everyone else who's not doing it right now, is go create a freaking ChatGPT account.
Hmm.
That's it. I use Grok. I'm an Elon fanboy, right? But just create an account. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. Just play with it. You'll be surprised at what it knows, what it figures out, and gets done for you. And again, talking about efficient, like it can remove a lot of inefficiencies in your day-to-day life to allow you to do things that you said are important to you. It's so obvious and it's like, redundant at this point, but you have to go in there and just play with it. You have to. Even if it's something as ridiculous, like these people are posting images themselves, I wouldn't say that's the best use of AI, but if that's what it takes for you to get started down this road, do that.
I've replaced Google search with ChatGPT on my phone.
Mhm.
And it's probably been one of the best things I've done for me. And
Oh
maybe it's
yeah.
my workflow or whatever it is, but the idea that you can like interact with a response and like even
Hmm.
ask it to respond in a certain way. Like this is my newest thing. I'm trying to like news fast, but also not be like disconnected. So I'll
Hmm.
wake up in the mornings and I'll ask for the top 5 news headlines specific to US and Canada and make them as unbiased as possible with sources. And so
Hmm.
it'll then give me all the topics. I'll get like a short article of each and it'll give me the sources. I can decide like, do I want to read the Fox News version or the CNN version of this today?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I find for me, it gives me a lot of power because prior to that, I would go on 3 or 4 different news outlets and scan the headlines and try and like determine in my head what's the middle ground of everything here today.
Hmm.
And this was prior to you like talking to you and your software, and obviously Cody has been talking a lot about it the last few days internally because he thinks it's really cool. But we're uploading transcripts to ChatGPT like raw. There's no craziness. It was like download from Zoom in a text file, upload to ChatGPT, and go. We're having an issue. Laura's close rates really really high, and this person's close rates really really low. Can you compare these 2 transcripts? Now, not super fruitful, very small data set, but there's no
Hmm.
way I was going to review both of those calls.
Right.
Now I got a response in 45 seconds versus 2 hours of call review, which would have cost me before that. Walk me through the whole software, like everything that it does, because I'm still a little miffed as to its capabilities.
So we have a few different things. The first thing is the call review. The call reviews are great. It's best when you can automate it. So we have a few partners that we work with where it's 100% automated. Smartphone, it just works. Smartphone calls done. It's in our system. It's scored. You can review it. It's automatic. Anyone that's not using smartphone, they can use a Zapier integration because we built out a Zapier integration, right? So if you're using close.com or one of these other tools, we can automatically score it once the call's done.
That was close.io, you meant?
Close.io. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think they've won both. So you can review it all internally, but Zapier, you can push it out to Slack or Google Chat. That's what we use. And inside Google Chat, every salesperson's score is in a chat for everyone else to see. And they
Hmm.
have to go in there and say, here's what I agree with, here's what I disagree with, here's my takeaway for my feedback. So now we have super tight feedback loops. And so with that super tight feedback loop, you're getting better faster. And also, I was saying earlier about sunlight and disinfectant, there's no hiding. If you blew that sales call, everyone knows. Everyone knows
Right.
you blew that sales call. So there's no plays off, there's no games off. Every single call matters, which as a business owner, I think is what we all want. Every single call is being inspected. Our sales manager is reviewing the 3 worst calls every week with the team. Like, hey, here are the 3 calls that you had the lowest scores on. Let's coach you through these 3 calls. So that's happening. We got 3 role-playing bots now, and we got Linda Johnson, widowed homeowner, right? She's fallen behind. Really easy sale. We got Dick Delaney, tired landlord. He's named Dick for a reason. And then we got Terry Alvarez, who is so far the most difficult because the guy is an engineer in the role play,
Mm.
but he will sell if you know how to sell. So we got those. And on top of that, we got scoring in there. So now as a sales manager, you can make sure that they're doing the role play and you can see how they're doing the role play. It's being evaluated. Something we're going to be rolling out in the next couple of weeks is a leaderboard. And I want everyone in the country that's in our program to be showing off how well their team's doing on the role play. We're instituting gamification into our tool. So we got that going on. We got coaching. So based off your last 30 days and last 7 days, it'll tell you, here are the things you need to work on, right? Because we're scoring every single call. Well, then it's not so hard to go to AI. It's like, hey, here are all their calls in the last 30 days. Based off the last 30 days, which theme is popping up that they need to work on? So now we have, as a sales manager, you can say, based off the last 30 days, here's what you need to work on. Here's based off the last 7 days, here's what you need to work on. And then what we're rolling out next, what Ian's working on is on top of having more role play bots, we're going to be having appointment setting. He's working on that. That should be done in the next few weeks. And then after that, what I'm really excited, but what everyone's begging and demanding is the follow-up. So nurture bots. So we're going to be rolling out nurture bots. And these bots are going to be based off of what our prescribed language is, how we would follow up with a lead. So, the call reviews, it'd be basically like, hey, Drew, you had a sales call. How would Steve and Ian review that call? We have that already. Now it's gonna be like, hey, would you like Steve and Ian to follow up with your leads? We're gonna have that next.
So it's so interesting because I'm like thinking the KPIs I currently have on my sheet for my sales team is close percentage. I could tell you which of my sales guys have what close percentage and where they're trending up or down for the month or for the quarter or whatever it might be. And so this is just like a significantly more robust because there's a lot of factors go into close percentage, right?
Yes.
Like show rate and like maybe this person's just really not good at confirming calls or whatever it might be. And we're not that granular. It's really hard on a Google Sheet and a VA to track all that kind of stuff. That's way more granular. That's so cool. I can like envision like this board of the KPIs that you can see, which means you can track, which means you can fix all the way down the road. So how do you suggest your software works tactically in terms of like schedules? And the reason I ask is like when I'm thinking about here, at one point we had a sales manager. He would have his normal check-ins in the morning, and then he'd have a one-on-one with everybody throughout the week. And on the one-on-one, he would ask them to submit a call prior to the one-on-one. He'd review it and then give them feedback. So it's a little loosey-goosey.
Yeah. They can cherry pick which one they want to submit.
Yeah. So how has that evolved? Like, what is, if you were running a sales team, say you had 5 full-time sales reps, like what is the cadence and how would you use the software?
Still weekly. And right now, the goal is to pick the 3 worst ones. But, you could pick the 5 worst ones. Like, hey, here's your 5 worst ones. Which one of these do you want to review together? Right. But we have 5. And the key here is this is all objective. So we had an individual on our team that I was coaching her and it wasn't working out well. It may come across like Steve is just like a really pushy manager, right? Once AI came in, every call is being scored objectively. Everyone's scored by the same rubric. There's no favorites. There's no like, hey, Steve's picking on me because I'm a female or any of this stuff, right? It's like objectively based off what we have deemed to be the principles of sales. Here's how you're doing. Now we can coach on that. Let's say I was the perfect sales manager, right? Let's just say I was. I'm still human. I'm gonna have good days. I'm gonna have bad days. I'm gonna have biases. I'm gonna have favorites and all these other things. That's just the way it is. Now it's objective. You're gonna get a consistent response over time. It's impossible for it to play favorites. It can't have a bad day. It can't be mean to your sales team for no reason. And we've had that happen, right? Like, a manager is having a bad day, takes it on your sales team. That's not happening, right? It's just
the implication of this, even in its current state, is insane, let alone future state, right? Like if you can remove the subjectivity, you remove the drama, and from there you can just execute cleanly all day long. And I've always looked at like a sales team as one of the least subjective departments of a business, right? Like customer support's a lot friggin' harder than that. Media
Hmm.
buying's pretty objective, but the idea that like you've removed all subjectivity from one of the most emotional roles, and the
Hmm.
idea that you could perpetuate this into other areas is really
Yeah.
where my mind's going with this. Like I could imagine a customer service bot dealing with clients, an internal for anybody who has a coaching program for your internal coaches. You're supposed to be the best of the best at explaining what they do. They could probably handle to do a little role play once in a while, because
Hmm.
I've been on coaching calls and the person running the call was not in their best form and was not,
Yeah.
performing at their best in whatever capacity they were trying to do. That's insane. That's incredible. What have you seen so far? Have you all like how long have you been running the software with clients?
Not even 2 months. Like
Okay.
we started this venture on March 12th. It hasn't even been three
Oh
months yet.
wow. Do
Which,
you
by the way,
have
talking about AI, I'm the tech guy. I'm using AI to build all of this.
so what does that mean? You have cursor and you're just
Cursor, Grok, N8N, Zapier, Claude. I mean, ChatGPT. Like we're using all of it because there's all these different ways to connect with each other.
explain what that means to anybody who's not super technically savvy, that you're using AI to build your AI bot
Yeah.
basically.
So I know what I want, and I can effectively tell Grok what I want this to look like, what I want it to do, and I have it ask me questions, and it gives me the code. I take the code, I push it into Cursor. From Cursor, I look at it, see if I like how it looks, and so on. And from there, if it doesn't work how I want it, I give it more feedback. And once it's good, then we push it out there. And then, it's also writing all the SQL code for me, all the other stuff as well. But I am telling what I want, and I am the designer of it. I'm the architect. I am the one that's integrating with it. So everything you see here is the vision put forth by myself, put forth by Ian, and then with feedback from clients. But I don't know how many thousands of lines of code or tens of thousands of lines of code. We're into it. But there's no way anyone else can do this without AI. Like to see where we're at in less than 3 months, it's pretty insane.
The best part about AI and GPTs and things like that at the time, this a few months ago, was that you can ask it how to use it.
Yes.
And there's nothing else in the world like that. Like that's
Hmm.
what's unique about AI, is that AI can teach you how to interact with it. And then recently I've been on a bit of a coding fix and down the rat hole,
Hmm.
and doing some developing myself. And I was like, this is insane. Like it is
Right.
insane. You can literally go in and exactly like you're saying, verbally, like I use my Mac microphone. I don't even like to type anymore. I do
Hmm.
everything voice to text, and I can voice to text into Cursor, it doesn't matter into what, and tell it exactly what I want. And I just need to click accept and deploy. And if I don't like
Hmm.
it, I just tell it what I didn't like. And so,
So two things there. A, what I've learned from this is that AI is not perfect. And so
mm,
there have been multiple times, 8 or 9 times, where the code was just bad and they couldn't figure it out. And I had to put my engineering hat back on to actually debug and solve this problem. So like engineering, Steve, has had to come out a few times to fix AI's mess. And second thing, I would disagree with the chat GPT or AI being the only thing that will coach itself on how to use it, because that is our number one sales philosophy. I sell you how you want to be sold. So I'll ask you, hey, Drew, how would you know you're working with the right company? Well, what would you need to see to feel comfortable and confident that what we're doing here makes sense for you and your organization? I'm going to sell you how you want to be sold.
you're going to take my feedback and
Hmm?
you're going to make decisions based on what I tell you back.
I'm not going to tell you anything that you don't want to hear, and I'm going to make sure that whatever you've deemed as important to be satisfied, I'm going to share that with you. So let's say like I'll ask you, hey Drew, what would you need to see feel comfortable that I am the right person to train your organization on sales? You're going to say, well, how many lead providers are you working with? Right? And you're going to say, who are they? You might say, well, what's their increase in sales conversion? Or you might ask, how long have been in business? You might ask how many I have. But I'm going to ask you which one, what would you need to see to feel confident? And you're going to tell me one of these few things. And later on, when I'm going for the sale, I'm going to make sure I give you what you asked for earlier, right? So if you look at the house buying situation, what do you need to feel confident? And one person is to say, well, I need to see better business Bureau review, right? Yeah, one person is gonna say, I want to list the houses you bought. One person can say, let's show me all your Google reviews. One person
Mhm.
might say, well, give me all the addresses you bought in the last 6 months. Person might say, hey, show me your bank statement or log into your Bank of America account right now and show me how much money is in your bank account. Every single one of those people has a different requirement on what they need to see to feel safe and secure. I'm going to make sure whichever one you need, I will have readily available when I'm asking for the sale.
There's an article called The Hollowness of AI. And I think that's exactly what
Mm-hmm.
you're speaking to, right? Like even with talking about the code and the engineering hat, like yeah, AI doesn't have a personality. It doesn't have fears or aspirations. It's so funny when you ask AI to like redo something and it'll be like, oh yeah, I overlooked this. Where I'm a little optimistic that in the next few years, I won't be walking up to a kiosk at a sales dealership and it's going to sell me on a car because I think this hollowness is what will be hard to solve. And so interesting what a perspective that gives in how good that AI be up for the lead nurturing and why that handoff to outside sales is so important, especially right now. I don't obviously what's it going to be like in a couple of years. I have no idea. Let's talk about regulations. Are you concerned at all when it comes to like lead nurturing and this kind of stuff? How that might be affected by regulations in the future? I know like one-to-one consent was threatened in January. Your new
Mm-hmm.
administration just doesn't seem to care about that stuff anymore. So that's great
All right.
for us, but it still
Mm-hmm.
means it could be impending at one point. How do you think that's going to affect things?
So I've always been on the side of disclosure. If the requirement is to disclose, then we'll disclose. When I was wholesaling pretty actively, I never disclosed I was wholesaling because I was in a situation where if I couldn't wholesale, I would just close on it myself. I
Mm.
always closed on it if I couldn't wholesale it. So I never felt the need to disclose it and wholesale it because worst case, I close on it. You'll never be in trouble. But things changed in 22. I couldn't close on everything anymore. In a falling market, I don't want to close on everything. And so I had to change my language. And so I said, hey, Drew, it sounds like it's really important to you that that you are able to receive X dollars cash for your home. And he said, yeah, it is important. I said, yeah, unfortunately, I can't pay that price. How important is it to you, Drew, that I'm the person that brings the cash for you at that price? And you say, I mean, if you can find me a cash buyer at that price, I don't care where the money comes from. Okay, so if I bring a buyer at that price, you're good. Like, yep, okay, great. And now I've disclosed I'm wholesaling the property, right? So whatever we have to disclose, we'll disclose it in a way where it doesn't sound weird.
That's so funny. I love that frame on wholesaling, by the way, because so many people like try and hide it or they're afraid of it and they
Mm-hmm.
feel yucky about it. I like that. That's a good frame. Yeah, we had this discussion the other day internally. We have a knowledge base now and like a bot in our software in app.
Mm-hmm.
And so the discussion was, should we have hours and have customer support available during certain hours? And that's when live chat's available, or should it be bot first? And if they get stuck with bot, pushes to live chat. That was the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the very first responses from somebody on the team was like, ew, I don't like the idea of it being a bot. Like, who wants to interact with a bot? And I'm like, I don't know. I do. I like when I'm on a website and it's an obvious bot. And I
Mm-hmm.
know that I'm basically just searching their knowledge base and it's going to summarize what I want. But I kind of rather that sometimes and like have to talk to a
Mm-hmm.
human and go through the pleasantries and like make sure they understand what I'm saying, which isn't always so great. And like,
Mm-hmm.
I think the world is shifting where like this is so understandable and normal that people are willing to deal with it. I know on my phone right now, my dentist, they have a GPT bot now for their scheduler. And so I can
Mm-hmm.
text my dentist phone number in plain language and be like, oh crap, I'm not going to make Thursday's appointment. Can you reschedule for next Tuesday? And he'd be like, yeah, no problem, Drew. I just sent the request in. The office will be calling you tomorrow to confirm. So it's like the bot
Mm-hmm.
did it without any humans. And then like the humans will confirm later if it was accurate. And I
Yeah.
like that. It's so much better than like waiting on a response because in 3 hours from now, I forgot I sent the text or they're trying to
Mm-hmm.
call me and I'm on a podcast. Like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna
I think it's probably because you and I are introverted.
yeah,
That's the reason
there's
why.
that.
And so I mean, there's a happy medium somewhere, right? It could be like, hey, like here's a chat bot, but if you want to talk to a human, you can talk to a human.
Yeah.
There's solutions here. I think the key here is to disclose what is required to be disclosed. One of the things we're going to have, we're not there yet, but once we get the follow up dialed in, my bots are going to follow up with you
Yeah.
because what greater proof that I believe my product that my bots sell you on an appointment
Yeah.
with my team.
I love that. I work in like active campaign and all these workflows and I'm the marketing guy, right? Like I've got all the emails and all the follow-ups and all the segments and it is insane. and it's annoying and they break half the time. And like, I just couldn't imagine what it'd be like to have a bot. And it was just like, here's your whatever, here's your frame for pre-call. You can check and see when the call is in my CRM. So it knows like how to kind of indoctrinate pre-call, should that be an option. And then it's like, oh, this person was a missed call. It's going to kind of take this type of whatever phrasing and messaging. This person had a call, but it was deemed as not right now, so that's going to have a different path the bot's going to follow in terms of follow up. This one was a no show, so the bot's going to have a different path of follow up.
Hmm.
Like, that's so friggin' exciting to me, because there's
Yeah.
nobody in the world who does that really really well with manual automation.
Yeah. No, that's gonna be great.
So we've got basically your lead setters bot, I don't know,
Hmm.
you have follow up bots, you have your sales training, your courses. That, what's the evolution from there? Because that feels like a pretty full stacked sales system.
I think we're pretty good there. I think if we get all those things right, we're gonna be in a pretty good spot. We're gonna follow wherever the market goes. And what I mean by that is, like I said, 3 months ago, I wasn't talking to anyone about doing this AI stuff, right? It was Stephanie Betters, Brad Chandler, Casey Ryan. Hey, Steve, here's what we need from you. I said, okay, if there's three of you guys are asking for it, I'll do this. Now we're doing weekly AI roundup calls for all our clients. And it's gonna be like, here's what we've done in the past week because it's moving so freaking fast. Here's what's on the roadmap. And then what features would you guys like to see?
Hmm.
So something that came up yesterday is now on top of everything else we have, we're gonna have a daily download. It's be like, hey, here's what your team did today. Activity, calls, here's how they scored. Just a daily email summary of here's everything that happened. Here's some coaching moments for Drew, right? But that's a suggestion from yesterday. Wherever the market directs us to, that's where we're gonna go. When you say like, I guess you're talking about like the future. Like for me, my aspirations is that we are a add-on to every CRM out there, right? Every
Interesting.
CRM company is like, hey, like, would you like to enable objection-proof AI? And they hit yes, and then now we can automate all this because like they'll have their roster, right? They'll have their team. Like we can automate all this. Now it's not just the marketing component of their CRM, but it's also gonna be the sales part of their CRM.
How did you come to found a bank of all things?
It's actually, Jack Bosch. He's a good friend. He's the land guy. So he's
Oh,
been teaching
okay.
land before anyone else really, not before, but like he's like, if you're interested in investing in land, like Jack's the guy. Like, don't talk to anybody else. So we're both in Collective Genius. And someone was asking for a loan inside of CG, like, hey, I'm looking at some DSCR loans, which I look at. And Jack chimed in. He's like, hey, there's this bank for this bank for that, and this bank for this. And he says, if you can wait 4 months, you can use my bank too. And so I sent him a DM on on Facebook, like, hey, what are you doing? Because he's in my neck of the woods.
Mhm.
And he said, hey, I'm investing with a bunch of guys. They're starting a bank, so I'm going to be one of the investors. I was like, can I get in on this? And he says, yeah, let me introduce you to the chairman and the president. I said, okay. So I jumped on a Zoom call with the chairman and the president. This is, we're in the beginning of COVID. I like the guys, talked to them, and then I did some research and I found out the chairman is also known as the bank guy at the legislature level because he worked as a legislator as well as a chief of staff for one of our mayors.
Mhm.
So I call my buddy, who is my state representative at the time, Speaker of the House. I say, hey, what do you know about this George guy? He's like, oh, that's the guy when it comes to like banking. Like any kind of banking questions, like that's who we call. It's like, oh, okay then. Right? Like, do you like the guy? Do you trust the guy? He's like, I trust him. Yes. Like, okay, great. So I invest with the guy. So Jack and I are one or two of I don't know how many investors there are inside the bank, but yeah,
Good,
we
good.
just did a meeting last like 2, 3 weeks ago on the state of the bank. Pretty fun to like find out like how banks actually operate. It's a
Right.
completely different industry. You got wholesaling, which is like the wild, wild west,
Yeah.
and you got banking, probably the most regulated industry in the country. So you get to see how that's run. It's really fascinating.
That's interesting. So it was really just an opportunistic, like a happenstance more than anything. And you just happened to be in the right place
Yeah.
at the right time, and all the pieces were just perfect.
Oh yeah, they've been working on it for like 12 years. I just came in the last few months.
A little cash, I'll invest. That's interesting, because I
Right.
wanted to dovetail that into like, what do you think about entrepreneurs and the whole shiny object syndrome? like you and I both have multiple companies. It's kind of
Hmm.
hard to stand on a soapbox and be like, go deep, not wide. Although I can make an argument for all of my companies are me going deep. So I'm
Hmm.
curious to hear like what is your thought on that, owning multiple companies yourself?
Well, I don't really so much anymore, right? So I let a lot of those businesses go because I let I'm still a realtor, but I haven't shown a house in God knows how long. I closed my brokerage. I stopped flipping. I stopped wholesaling. I mean, Jason Medley really, got into me. And he was like, you need to focus on one thing. And I did Whale Club with Paul Sparks. The one thing that I figure was like, I have with leverage and everything else, I can make this work. Because we all think of time as our most valuable
Mm,
asset, our most valuable currency, which I have agreed with for a very long time. But I now am of the opinion attention is your most valuable currency. And there's only so much of
mm,
that. And so once I realized like attention is my most valuable asset, I can't actually do all these other things. I can only do one
right,
thing well. And look, what we're doing with AI right now would not be feasible if I was still running my wholesaling business.
right.
Would not be feasible if I still had my title company and my brokerage, right? I also shut down the title company. If I had all these things going on and all these fires putting out, there's no way I could do what I'm doing with the AI stuff right now. So I'm not shaming anyone. I am the biggest violator of the shiny object syndrome. But I think there will come a point where Alex Hormozy talks about the, focus and the lady in the red dress.
Mhm.
At some point, you look at every great company, they did one thing well. I mean, even if you look at it, Darren Hardy is a great mentor of mine. If you look at, Michael Jordan, Tony Hawk, and all these other guys, were they great at a lot of things? No, they were great at one thing.
Yeah.
That's it.
And you don't think there's an argument for people who say they just want to be great at business?
So the question is, how many people do you know that have, and it depends what your goals and aspirations are, right? Like if you're happy with where you are right now, then don't change anything. But if your goal is to exit, like mine is, how many people do you know have been able to successfully exit building 7 companies at a time?
Yeah. And I think that's an interesting way to phrase it too. Buildings having multiple companies at the same time, right? Like your
Hmm.
your bank investment doesn't take time or attention from you. Like you got to be on a cool call. Like that was about it. You're not an operator there or deep into that. And I think that and like
No,
Alex Hermosi, right? Like he is an investor in a lot of different businesses right now, but really, unless it comes to lead gen or marketing, he doesn't really do a whole lot. And obviously, Layla is more of an operator, and that's her thing. I think it's a great lesson. I think it's a lot. What people should understand is that there are a lot of opportunities, and going deep is really important. And sometimes opportunities run their course, like with your
hmm
brokerage, right? That set you up for a lot of other things to come. And I think it's important that you were deep in that, and now you're deep in this.
I wouldn't be the coach I am today if I didn't have my brokerage. Because I coach a lot of realtors, a lot of realtors. It all works together. I mean, even the AI stuff, like learning how to do SQL, an internship where I learned about databases, like it all works out together in the end, right? Like all your journeys, all your experiences will be beneficial. It's just once you're clear on what you want, then the question you got to ask about everything else is, does this serve me? Something we talked about on our meeting, our level 10 meeting on Monday is, does this thing we're talking about right now make it easier for us to sell to Salesforce? If
Mm,
this thing doesn't make it easier for us to sell to Salesforce, we're not doing it.
what a great filter. Yeah, and what a like nice, like great long-term vision, and like that's it. Steve, this is great. I really appreciate spending this time with you. We should do it again sometime.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Awesome. Thanks, man. I really appreciate having you on.